have the actual social network, ethnic social network built up as in California and Florida, you don't see the whole enclave economy example. But if you go to the states that are big magnets, it's like going to New York, and in one block people are speaking Italian, in another block people are speaking Arabic, and in another block people are speaking Spanish, and just because each one of those specific blocks are offering to a specific ethnic product. But it's still, both of these are just theories on how to explain immigrant entrepreneurship and how they end up appearing and offering some particular product or service. One important thing is, in general, aside from the theory, is that it seems kind of obvious that immigrants end up entering in those industries that have a low barrier. So where you don't need maybe to do much in terms of some documents, or you don't need to have a whole story in terms of education, in terms of actual necessity to have so much contact with the regulatory businesses or the institutions. So normally, new immigrant business owners are mainly in areas like construction or professional and business services, services in general like hospitality or restaurants. Those are the typical areas that we see a big representation of the immigrant entrepreneurs. New immigrants, the light one is new immigrant owners as a percentage of the U.S. and new immigrants business owners as a percentage of total immigrants. So as a percentage of the U.S. also, they end up being very interesting high in wholesale and transportation, and as a percentage of the total immigrants themselves, like in the group, professional business service and construction are very big places where immigrants, entrepreneurs have present or enter a new business, start a new business. And these are numbers from the Small Business Report in 2008. So these are no day-to-day numbers yet. So in Minnesota, immigrant, now moving a little bit towards Minnesota, Minnesota population is a little bit different to the U.S. as a whole. First, well, the big obvious thing is that Asian community is in general a little bit higher than the percentage of Asian in the whole U.S. And Latin Americans still being a big part of the minority. It's not as big as 52% in the U.S. Africa, big African individuals coming from Africa is a very, very big portion of the immigrants in Minnesota. So the distribution of immigrants in Minnesota looks very different to the distribution of the U.S. It's still Asian and Latin American are the big group in the presentation. So in Minnesota, immigrant business represent around 2.8% of business. Minnesota business owner represent only 2.1% of the U.S. because in Minnesota we know that we have something like the 5 or 10 500 Fortune businesses in the U.S. So it's many firms in the U.S. in Minnesota are pretty big. Using American Community Survey 2009, looking by myself at these numbers, immigrants are around 4% of the total self-employment in the U.S. Just immigrants in Minnesota, just in Minnesota. Of that group, more than half are foreign born. And more than 50% of the self-employment arrived after 1990. So these are first generation most likely, well, we know that first generation because they're foreign born. And they just arrived after the 90s. Most of these entrepreneurs in Minnesota are very new immigrants, or new Minnesotans that people been calling. In terms of education distribution, do you remember the different distribution of immigrants, U.S. versus Minnesota? We're also going to see something interesting instead of education distribution. Immigrant education education in Minnesota is, or educational level, or educational achievement, it's very diverse. Not diverse, but it's very dichotomous. Like, it's a very low range, maybe no schooling or high school dropout, or very high degree. Especially in this group, we're going to see a lot of the African community account to like refugees. So we do have more flat, almost flat. Well, you see a little bit on the bottom, but you don't see the native population looks more like on average they have some college, but in the immigrant community you have very, very big groups in the lower end and in the top end. So low education and very high education. And that also reflects into the industry where self-employment is reflected. Because we're going to see, look at the professional and medicine. This is medicine. Professional and medicine are very, really big sectors where immigrants practice self-employment. We don't know how many people they hire. We don't know exactly how long, if they're new businesses or old business, but they are self-employed in these areas, professional and medicine. And you see how not so large they are in terms of retail service. This is Minnesota. But in terms of construction, immigrants are a big proportion of the construction self-employment compared to native. And this is comparing self-employment immigrants versus self-employment native. So importance of ethnic communities, and this is something that I'm going to go a little faster. So I think social resources are going to explain a lot of how immigrants end up opening and participating in the economy as entrepreneurs. So social resources are going to offer money, rotating credit, protected market, and labor sources. And co-ethnic employment is going to offer the social network that is going to create some services to all the members of that social network. Jobs for workers and labor for employers. Signaling works by everything good. For instance, hiring someone inside the social network could be less stressful because maybe you have more information and that other individual belongs to the same social network. And failing in any activity inside the social network could be punished for the whole network. General reciprocity, mutual trust. Trust because you need some kind of trust when you're working with a specific boss. This is something that already come into play with social network, given that, well, I know everybody around, you know that everybody that I know, so we can trust each other and know you're going to work the hours you say you're going to work, and this could reduce transaction costs, or it could reduce the management problems that sometimes arise with actually make incentive your workers to work in a more productive way. So,
okay.
just
excuse me.
that.
We've run out of time, but I do want to just check on something. Have either
Mayul is here.
Okay, you're here. What about Rogelio?
Jaime was just here, and I think that he got a call and he went out to bring him up. I think he's on campus.
Okay, all
Okay,
right.
I just wrap it up and then finish. Yeah,
Because I want to make sure
that everybody
each
has
speaker
a
has
time.
an equal amount of time, and you're doing a wonderful job, and this is fascinating, but I want to make sure
Yeah,
that
that
everyone else
everybody
has
has-
time, and that we have time for Q&A. So if you could just take a few more minutes,
Yes,
and then
2
we'll move on
minutes,
to
and then
Wanda.
this is the last, previous to the last one. Just to show that the year of entry, most of the immigrants are coming after 90. Most of the self-employed immigrants are arrived after 90s in Minnesota, and most of the by places where most of them are Mexican or more community, Korean, and Somali. So it's kind of the same story that we just have with the distribution of immigrants in Minnesota versus the U.S. So there's different outcomes in this, and one thing that I have to, I'm talking about all this stuff, suspects race and how it's participating in the creation of new businesses, but one important thing is that also I would like to analyze the long-run effects of ethnic communities. So the use of the social network may have some positive effect in the starting up of a business. But then after a while, there is something that it could be perversive for these businesses and for the workers in these businesses, because if they end up falling into one of the later theories, which is enclave economy, then they become another portion of the market, a different, separate world of the market. And then, I know some people hate the word assimilation, but part of the process of coming to another country is to share culture and to learn culture. If people just stay in a specific group and don't learn the language and don't try to learn about this new culture, then you can look at this group as just a separate group from the society. So that's a very long run effect of any community that I'm trying to set up in this slide, just because I'm talking about